Hey guys, Jonathan with Sandhills Promise. Welcome back. We are in part two of our Sandhills Promise 101 video on completing your FAFSA. The first part, our first video was on frequently asked FAFSA questions that we've gotten from Sandhills Promise students over the years and how to set up your FSA ID. Part two, in how to complete your FAFSA is the FAFSA itself. We're going to dive right into the FAFSA application. And again, I wish I could show you step by step how to fill out the application, but I think what we are going to go over and the screenshots that I'm going to provide are going to give you enough helpful advice and tips and tricks to be successful as you navigate the FAFSA. All right, you set up your FSA ID and you have signed in, and so this is the first screen you're going to see. Very important, you're going to see your name here, and then you want to click on, there's two tabs right now this time of year. There's the 2019-2020 FAFSA, that's for the current school year that we're in, but we're talking future sense. So we want you to fill out the 2020-2021 FAFSA, which starts fall 2020. That's the first semester you're going to be eligible to start receiving your Sandhills Promise. So we want this FAFSA right here. If you've already started your application, you would click continue. I have started a fake application, so to speak, so that I could show you a few of these screens. So we're going to click continue. Now, there's a lot of screens that I did not show you, for number one, for the interest of time, but number two, a lot of the questions they're going to ask you are just yes and no questions. A lot of the information, name, address, social, date of birth, is going to import from your FSA ID, so you won't have to key that in. We talked about the school code. There is going to be a school section. There's a section that talks about, they want you to list what high school you went to. There's some dependency questions where they ask, do you have children that you support more than 50%? They're going to ask some questions about what degree are you working on. Make sure you put, especially for high school students, this trips them up. Make sure you can put your first bachelor's degree. You can also, don't put that you're working on a master's degree. That may be your ultimate goal, but put down first bachelor's, or better yet, there's an associate's degree. There's two choices for the associate's degree, and you can select either college transfer or occupational. So whatever you're doing, if it's college transfer, select the transfer associates. If you're going to do nursing, select occupational. But please don't put that you are working on your second bachelor's or a master's degree. It's also going to ask some questions about your parents. That's what I was talking about earlier when it comes to their marital status, some other of their personal information. And then we come to this page, we come to the tax section. And this is the section. The other stuff is important, but we don't see as many issues with those questions. Where we really get into trouble is right here. So this is what it says student information, but this is the exact same screen that your parents are going to see as well. We look right here for 2018, because that's the tax year that we're using for this FAFSA, 2018. Have you completed an IRS income tax return? You're going to click the drop down here. Three choices will pop up. Already completed, will file, not going to file. You select the one that is appropriate to you. If you put that you already completed, then the next section, click on the drop down and select the tax return that you filed. It's in the top left-hand corner of your tax return. Is it a 1040, a 1040A, a 1040EZ? And then finally, what is your filing status? Are you single, married filing separate, married filing joint, head of household, qualifying widow? You'll see that drop down right here. And that's very important, especially for your parents, to select the correct one that is on their tax return. If you filed, and if your parents filed, then you would come down here and you would click on the link to IRS button. This is very, very important, because what happens to a good percentage of our students is they're selected for what we call the verification process. That means that you have to turn in tax documents and other verification documents to make sure what you put on the application matches what you fill out on the forms that we send you once everything has been sent to us. Part of that is we ask you to turn in tax returns, or you have to get a tax return transcript from the IRS. If you link to the IRS right here, and it successfully transfers all the data from their site into the FAFSA, you don't have to give us tax information unless there's a serious issue, which most of the time there's not. So this right here, this link to IRS, that is a huge time saver for both you and your parents. There's a few times, though, I will tell you that it will not show up, will not work. If your parents have they put down that they're married filing separate, it would not work. So sometimes if the marital status has changed in this year and the tax filing status was different in the previous year, it wouldn't work in that case. But in most cases, it's going to give you the link to the IRS. Very, very important when you get into the link to the IRS page, verify, it's going to pull in your name, it's going to pull in your date of birth, and it's going to pull in your filing status. Make sure you have and make sure your parents have their tax returns in front of them when they're filling this out. Make sure the name, filing status, date of birth, make sure it all is correct. And then you've got to put in your address exactly as it is on the taxes. So if your tax preparer put you live at 1234 John Doe Lane, if John Doe Lane is in all caps, you've got to put it in exactly like it is on the taxes. If they misspelled and they typed it Joe Doe Lane, you've got to type it in the incorrect way. Whatever's on the taxes has to be put on the IRS data retrieval tool submission form. If you put in everything just right, you'll hit the submit button, and if it's correct, it'll tell you, and you'll get this really nice box right here. A lot of students mess up right here and they don't check this and they don't check transfer now. Make sure you hit transfer now. That's going to transfer all the tax information into your FAFSA application. And you'll see it in all of the FAFSA sections that talk about tax specific questions. It's going to say transferred from IRS, transferred from IRS. Anything that can be pulled from the tax return into the FAFSA will have in bold black, transferred from IRS. So you've got through your tax section. And by the way, backing up just a second, a lot of high school students, what I have found in my experience, have not worked or either have not made enough to file taxes. So the most common thing that we see going back to your tax section is to put that you are not going to file if you made less than the IRS requirement. And if you've got questions on that, call our office, or you can talk to your parents' tax preparer. But most of the time, it's not going to file. And then if you did work, but let's say you only made $1,000, then you would list that in income received from wages, tips, and salaries. So there's going to be some other questions that you and your parents are going to have to answer. Any child support received? Any child support paid? Did anybody work for a college in the work study program? Is there any 401k money that's being taken out of checks every month? Any wages, salaries, and tips that aren't reported? Any income that's not reported? Money paid on your behalf? There's a lot of other questions that you and your parents will both go through. Then you come to this section, and this section confuses so many parents and students. We have right here, as of today, does the total amount of you and your spouse's current assets exceed $4,900? So this is just an example dollar amount. Everybody's dollar amount is going to change based on the information you provided in your financial section. Again, this is just an example of what you may see. It could be lower than that. It could be higher than that. If you can answer yes, so if your current assets exceed $4,900, then you're going to come down here and answer these 3 questions. If the answer is no, then you're going to check no. These 3 questions go away. If you have any questions about what an asset is, you can click here. If you have any questions about what goes in these boxes, click these little question marks. Really good information there. But let's just assume that your assets do exceed 4,900. At that point, as of today, what is you and your parents, this is for you, and then your parents will have one too, total current balance of cash, savings, and checking accounts. You would list that there. As of today, what is the net worth of you and and then the same, what is you and your parent, what is your parents' investments, including real estate? Now, this question is the one that people don't read right here. Not your home we don't want you to include the value of your parents' home right here. Please don't. If your parents owned investment properties or have rental properties, then yes, you would list something there, but the value of your home does not go here. And then any net worth of current businesses or investment farms. This section right here can make or break a FAFSA, especially the most common error, if you can believe it, is people transposing numbers. I have seen people put, instead of $1,000 right here, I guess they accidentally fall on the 0, and I've seen people have $1 million there, and it came back they were not eligible for federal or state aid. So be very careful when you fill this out and consult these little question marks and what an asset is. I mentioned a minute ago that you're going to have a section to list if you or your parents are contributing to an IRA or a 401k. Don't list that here. It's just you're double dipping at that point if you list it in both places. And finally, we come down to the very last thing you have to do to submit your FAFSA, and that's provide your signature. You're going to provide one, and your parents are going to provide one. You're going to click here where it says provide student signature. The cool thing, because if you have logged in with your FSA ID and password, you don't have to type that FSA ID and password in. It knows it's you. So you can click on provide signature. You're going to click a box that says you certify that all the information is correct and you accept all the terms and conditions. And then you hit sign my FAFSA. Your parent will do the same thing. If mom or dad use the retrieval tool, the way they get into that retrieval tool is with their FSA ID. They do have to put that in there for their IRS retrieval tool. You do not if you filed because you have already used your FSA ID at the very beginning signing into the FAFSA. If mom and dad were not able to use the FSA ID to sign into the IRS retrieval tool, then they would have to type in their username and password and click the sign button. Now, this is important because when you're in your parents section, in their demographic section, you have to put parent 1, parent 2. So if mom is the one that you set up the FSA ID for, and mom is parent 2, you'll have to tell this screen right here, and again, I wish I could show it to you, but I can't. You'll click on I'm parent 2, put in mom's FSA ID and password, click sign, and the most important thing is click the submit my FAFSA now button. A lot of students hit the save button. It saves it, but it doesn't submit it. And then our office never gets it. So make sure you're hitting submit my FAFSA now. I know we've covered a lot of ground, and if you have any questions, my information, my phone number and email is on the screen. Currently, we are working remotely because of the coronavirus, and we do have options where we can meet virtually through Collaborate or Zoom, some other different options where you can share your screen with me and I can see what you're working on, and then I can share my screen with you. So we've got some options for some face-to-face meetings through these times that we're going through where we're social distancing and working remotely. So we're here to answer any questions. I hope you found this video helpful, and please let me know if I can answer any questions with any of your Sandhills Promise applications. Thanks so much and have a great day.